You're still watching The Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. My name is Francis Aban. Let's now find out what's happening on the campaign trail today. We know that President John Mahama is continuing his tour of the Eastern region. Kofi Siao is our man following him today. Let's get some more details. Kofi, good afternoon to you. We know that the president has been speaking at Chebi, where he's commissioned a water project. Tell us a bit more about what he's been saying and what's been the response of the people in that part of the country.
Hello.
Kofi, can you hear me? Good afternoon to you.
Francis.
Kofi, where are you as we speak? Where are you?
Hello.
Kofi, can you hear me? I'm asking where you are now and what's happening.
Currently, we have finished with a mini rally in Tawama Madraji constituency, where the president has been sharing his vision with the people of the area. According to the
I think we've lost Kofi Siao there on the line. We'll try and restore contact to him and bring you some more updates. We know that the president has been to Chebi. As you heard Kofi mention, he's just finished the mini rally at the Som Adrejuri constituency, still in the eastern region. We understand the Ochima youth are also unhappy about some developments ahead of the president's visit. We know there are some issues that came up in the past about the state of their roads and also the thorny matter of illegal mining Galamsey in the eastern region. Now, we'll try and bring you some more details on what the president has been saying. We know that he's taking some time to share some words in reaction to what Samira Bawumia, the wife of the MPP running mate, has been saying in that region. We'll bring you some more details and updates from the campaign trail in just a moment. We also know that up in the northern part of the Volta region, the flag bearer of the MPP, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is also busy in that area trying to galvanize as many votes as he can with 40 days to go to the elections. Remember, this is your election headquarters. We bring you everything you need to know about the election 2016 from now till December 7 when you head to the polls to take a decision. But while we will try and get you Kofi Siao back on the line and also our men following the candidates on the campaign trail, well, Kofi is back. Let's get an update. Kofi, you were telling us about the president's mini rally at Nsaom Adrejuri. What was he talking about at that rally? Kofi, can you hear me? It seems we've lost Kofi on the line. Okay, so we'll return to the campaign trail in just a moment. But let's now talk about something that I'm sure many of you can relate to, is the issue of power. And as you can imagine, yes, what you see in the background are lights, and you may have been experiencing some power outages of late. Well, the Electricity Company of Ghana has a response to the outages you've been seeing. And well, for me, I've been in darkness for 2 nights straight. At the media briefing on Thursday, the ECG today dismissed suggestions that what is being experienced is load shedding. Director of Operations, Engineer Tete Ankama Okan, says the recent outages are as a result of planned maintenance works, faulty cables, and theft.
But the climax was on the Sunday when we had 2 challenges. At the Malam BSP, there were challenges with some of the equipment, and we needed to work on them urgently. But you know, when the Malam BSP goes off, a large area within western part of Accra to Kaswa and Sawam, all of them go off. At the same time, we had another challenge, and we had to put up the station at Bachuna, which spares the Spintex Road and some other areas. So it happened that western part of Accra was off. Some parts in the eastern was also off. So it raised a lot of issues. But then we had to change some equipment at Bachuna in order to make sure that we can stabilize the supply from the Bachuna station. And then at the Malam station, some of the equipment were melting. So we quickly had to work on them. So that was what actually occurred at that time. But then I've seen that we just want everybody to know generally what will happen within our network for power to go off. The first in which we normally get outages and is when we have planned maintenance, and then we want to execute that planned maintenance. And that one, because we know it, We have a date, we have a time frame, so we are able to come out with an announcement, and we send it out to a large variety of stakeholders. Then we have what we call preemptive maintenance. So under our normal operations, we do inspection of the network. When you go around, you do inspections, sometimes you can foresee a challenge going to come from somewhere. Depending on how serious the challenge is. If it's urgent, that one, there's no way you can give an announcement before you do the repairs. Immediately, you shut down and do it. But like I talked about Malam that last Sunday, we saw the problem, but at least we thought we could give ourselves about a week before we did it. So we had time to make an announcement before working at Malam. But it was critical, so we had to do it. We couldn't. Then the other cause is where sometimes it's accidental, sometimes it's intentional. People tamper with our network. Maybe somebody is digging somewhere, and then they dig into our underground cable. That means once the cable is damaged, then all people being served by that cable are going to go off naturally.
Well, the ECG, however, is short of stable supply of power in the second week of November.
Our suppliers of energy have assured us that there is energy coming. So based on that, we are going ahead to plan our jobs and our things to ensure that we will be able to give reliable supply to our customers. Looking at the period in which we are trying to bring forward all our planned maintenance so that we can finish everything by the first or second week in November for 2016. So that after that, then we know that we don't have any planned maintenance to do. If there's anything, that will only be emergencies or something critical which has come up.
So let's see, between now and then, what happens with our power supply? We'll try and get you some more answers, because be that as it may, that there are some challenges. You can also understand for many businesses, they're struggling in these times when lights are out. Families are beginning to sleep a bit more in darkness than usual. Some fear that the plague of doomsday is back. Well, from the ECG, they say that the maintenance work is being done from now till the second week in November. Let's wait and see what happens. You have views to share, keep them coming. Send them on our social media handles. Join us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. Now, the Fisheries and Aquaculture Ministry has justified the distribution of tricycles, wire mesh, headpans, outboard motors, and other fishing equipment to coastal communities, claiming the move is just part of government's efforts to demonstrate that it's committed towards the fisheries sector. Sherry Aite, in an exclusive interview with Joy News, explained that government's vision to ensure that the fishing industry grows to a point where the huge fish imports into the country will stop is what they are achieving by these initiatives. She rejects claims that the move is aimed at buying the votes of the residents in these fishing communities.
The NDC administration, under the leadership of President Mahama, realized that no, we cannot allow the fishermen to do these things on their own. Government must also support them. As we are supporting cocoa farmers, we are supporting farmers, and we are supporting other sectors of the, food chain development for food security.
Okay, so this is just support, but the coincidence of time makes people assume that it would give the electorate some bit more of an appetite and a lot more reason to say, okay, now I have a tricycle. Why don't I just cast my vote in that direction? The timing is a bit more delicate at this moment, precipitating a vote for John Mahama.
I don't think it is true, because sometime in February I was in Parliament. I mean, you always have to provide put your budget before Parliament. you want to tell Parliament what you want to do for the year 2016, and then also in 2015. And in my parliamentary submission for my budget, programs, was, the supply of outboard motors and other social programs for fishermen. And this was approved by Parliament. In fact, Parliament asked me, how am I going to achieve these targets? And I told them how I would do that. And they approved it. And in fact, there are some MPP parliamentarians in Parliament who were very happy because they realized that for the first time, we are focusing on the social activities of fishermen in their constituencies.
Good. So what are these expected outcomes for this project? The outboard motors, the tricycles, the barbed wires that they have received. What need specifically are they expected to meet within the fisheries sector with numbers? That's what I'm looking for.
We want to change lives. We continue changing their lives. We want to create jobs. We want to create wealth. Importantly is wealth for the fisheries sector. So these outboard motors will definitely, the outboard motors that we are distributing, they have been designed in such a way that they are high-powered and they can go very far within our economic zone. And then they can also withstand storms on the ocean. So definitely you can stay much longer on the ocean. And then in addition to the outboard motors, we are also giving them fish finders, where you can locate where the cluster of fish are. And then you don't have to burn your fuel. You go there, you just put it in the sea. You know that this place, I don't have to fish. I have to go to another side, So it is purely to improve their livelihood, to improve their standard of living. We want to change the whole coastal life. We want to give them a better life, education, health. We don't want them to live the way they are living, because with us, increase, growth, increase income, and it can change their lifestyle.
But we still have a big deficit when it comes to our fish consumption and what we have. How does this contribute to bridging the gap between our needs and what we produce? Because Ghanaians eat a lot of fish.
So that is why we are emphasizing on fish farming, aquaculture. So it is Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. And we have about 3 training centers where we train people who are interested in fish farming, tilapia, catfish. And we have a lot. We have a program with FAO. We are training young people to go into aquaculture. And I can tell you that when we took over, we were producing about 5,000 metric tons of fish through fish farming. And now we have reached almost 50,000 metric tons of fish.
50,000?
Yeah, in fish farming. Aquaculture, catfish, and then shrimps and clams. So we are estimating that by the year 20,000, we'll be producing about 100,000 metric tons of fish.
Nana, enkofo bebre say enoma ya chama so wonya bi ne.
Menya bi.
Wonya den.
Menya aboboya.
Aboboya. Na sa ade we ba ye no enkofo bebre nim say eye NDC fo dwumade be modi na ebema mo mato abama NDC. Na enye say de cham keke. Ade uhu ne say.
Oh, me pa cho da America no na no ba be aba so na sese ya. Oya jema community no. Ntinya aba no 20 na aba no oleche aboboya otedama. Oya mmoya oje boa Ghana fo nyina.
Nti wo ankasa na mo be na sa de ebeboa wo.
Obotum abo because yiyi na mokra pa eji fim pa no ba so no owa nti enya obotum agban ye adwuma yam.
Okay. Na we na nkasa ka akodomu anka ne bo pa yesan.
Okay, now
na so ko to anka e be sesen.
55 million.
5,500 Ghana cedis. And they say yeah they are chow kwa na sesen na utua bi.
Okay, mutua 7.5. Scam etuana.
Okay. But into the say, edru sa ko to aba, wo to ma hona.
Moto ama aba na wa abo na no.
Okay. We no idea ma on ka ho binti anase nka ho ke no kran ba man ka beto.
Anka moto ama.
Adentia.
Why mpontu djuma bebre wo hia no krom.
Okay.
Nti moto aba ama no.
Okay. Good. So Nana Saidu is essentially saying that he's a fisherman. It always takes too long and it's difficult to move the fish that he has caught from offshore to the market center. So these tricycles that he has gotten from the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture will aid that. And he says that every government has its own programs and schemes. So this project actually will influence his vote, of course, but he would have voted for the NDC anyway, anyhow, even if these things didn't come at all. For Joy News, my name is Kweku Owusu-Pepra.
That's from the Western region. Let's head to the Volta region now, where the New Patriotic Party's presidential candidate Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is continuing with his campaign tour. Let's get more from our correspondent Ivy Setoji. She's following Nana Addo. Ivy, good afternoon to you. Where are you now? What's happening?
Good afternoon, Francis. We are currently at Justifies.
Sorry, where are you?
Justifies.
Jasikan. What's happening at Jasikan today?
Oh, right now it's raining, so everything is at a standstill for now. He's currently with the street, but generally cannot get there because of the rain. He was earlier at KJB, Okajako, and then what he told the people, he assured that when he went to revive the health insurance scheme, after ridiculing the free SHS policy in 2008 and 2012, describing it as undoable. He said the Mahama government has sent round to implement it, ending up in a failure. When he wins, they will effectively implement that. And he also said that every social intervention, that is the health insurance scheme, school feeding, free maternal care, were all initiated by the NCP, and there's no social intervention in the name of President Mahama. And so he assured that he will ensure the creation of jobs through the one district, one factory policy, and also establish the infrastructure for poverty eradication program, which will see every constituency receiving the equivalent of $1 million a year to address their needs. So that is what he's been telling the people at KJB. Hello, Francis.
Yes, Ivy, I can hear you. I'm asking about what the response of the people has been to the message he's been carrying around from community to community.
Well, the people are happy about what is going on. They are happy to see the flag bearer of the NPP. They are asking him to make sure that he implements all the policies when he wins. And they are saying that those that we spoke to, they are saying that they will show they are going to support him, they are going to vote for him. Some of them also believe that, well, and they say voter registration is still the World Bank for NDC. So they are also on the side of the NDC. But most of the people I spoke to said they were going to vote for him come December 10th.
You've already told us that Nana Addo is in Jasikan as we speak. What's the itinerary going into this evening?
Well, from Jasikan, we are going to, he's going to have a rally, and immediately the rain stops. And then from the rally, he will go to Kokwe to meet all the tertiary institutions, that's the training colleges you have, and other students at a particular place, that is the Franco, the St. Francis Training College, the College of Education. He will meet them and speak with them, talk to the students, that's the tertiary institutions there. And from there, he will proceed to home.
All right. Thank you, Ivy, for that update. I'm sure as and when there are any developments, we'll come back to you for those details. Let's quickly head to the Eastern region. Yes, we've heard from the president. He's currently in Nsawam Aduajiri, but we know that the wife of the MPP running mate, Samira Bawumia, has also been on the campaign trail. In fact, she's been busy sharing some messages with people in that region. Let's get more from Maxwell Kudeko. He's actually following Samira Bawumia. Maxwell, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Francis.
Where is Samira Bawumia as we speak? What's she been talking about?
Well, Samira Bawumia has been meeting with members of the Zongo community in the constituency he's been touring so far. And then also he's been holding mini rallies and interactions with constituencies in selected communities here. This morning we went to the Akwatia constituency, and then we followed up to the Upper West Akim constituency, Upper West and Lower West Akim. We are presently at there's a town called Eswoko. Primarily, he's been talking about the scene of PPP for the Zongo community. At that, there's Zongo. Samira Bawumia told the Zongo community that the NDC has been peddling falsehood or lies that an NPP government, when giving the mandate, will sack all Muslims or people from the minority tribe from Ghana. So Samira told the electorate that that cannot be true and that will not happen. She said President Kufuor and the NPP administrating in between 2001 and 2008 helped the Zongo community a lot. So if there is any intention to start minority group or Muslim from the Ghana, it would have happened in the NPP or the previous NPP regime. She called on the electorate to consider a political party who has better policies to improve the lot of the majority of the people. Samira talked about the fact that most of the social intervention programs or policies initiated by the FCC have presently collapsed. He's been telling the Zongo community that the free SHS particularly will help people from the Zongo, because there are a lot of vulnerable people in the Zongo community. So if they rally behind the MPP, they are going to better the lot of the people from the Zongo community and Ghana as a whole.
All right, and in all of this, Maxwell, what's been the reaction she's been receiving from the people in these Zongo communities?
Since yesterday, I've been interacting with a couple of them, some of them. You could see from their face that the message is going down with them. Most of them seem to be embracing the message Samira Bawumia is giving them. There is a group in some of these Zongo communities calling themselves Zongo for Change. Some of the members of this group have been telling me that this time around they would want to promise the MPP that the voter count and the results from the Zongo community will change, and it will change and then favor the MPP, because they believe that most of the policies being proposed by the MPP is going to help the Zongo community, especially with the Zongo Development Fund and other social intervention projects like the free SHS and then the NHIS that is going to benefit majority of the people. So they seem to be happy with the message Samira is moving around with.
All right, thank you, Maxwell Kudeko, for that update from the Eastern region. We know that the wife of the MPP running mate, Samira Bawumia, has been busy in the Eastern region. We'll bring you more from the campaign trail in just a moment. But let's quickly talk about something else that has been quite big here on this channel this week. I'm talking about the state of our railway system in the country today. It's one that's causing some trouble. In fact, for many who have spoken to journalist Wanda Hagen, it looks as though it may become a political matter in this year's elections. Details now in this report by Wanda Hagen.
This is the sad, deplorable state of a once vibrant rail system. Ghana's railway system began operations over 100 years ago. In the 1980s, the train, locally called the Keteke, was a major contributing factor to the development of the country, accounting for the movement of about 90% of the country's bulk export commodities. The country at the time had several efficient railway lines along the eastern, western, and central corridors. At the time, the railway had a track network of about 950 kilometers made up of the eastern, western, and the central lines. Most of these lines today have been closed and are not operational, leaving the total track network of the current railway at less than 100 kilometers. Some decades down the line, the story of Ghana's railway sector has become an ugly one. Today, the country has only 4 functioning trains and several kilometers of destroyed railway lines. 3 of these trains convey passengers and goods, and the remaining one is used for the haulage of manganese from Takoradi to Nsuta. The Nsawam and Tema trains are the only passenger trains operating now under extreme difficult conditions.
So it's been about 5 minutes since I joined this train, which is Accra bound from Nsawam. Originally, authorities tell me the train is supposed to have moved from one station to the other in 30 minutes, at most 40 minutes. It's however not the case, because this train has been traveling from Nsawam for almost 2 hours and is still yet to arrive at its destination. Now, this can be attributed to the deplorable state of the rails. The train itself is not in a good state, as there are indications of rust all over, and this coach, for instance, is supposed to have taken a number of 112 people, but as it stands, it's taking 160 people, this including luggage. Some people are standing in the train because its capacity is full.
Trains are supposed to be a safe means of transport, if not the safest. But some of the country's trains have become death traps. Some of its coaches consistently derail in the course of the journey, putting the lives of its passengers at risk. There have been some recent cases of derailment that left some passengers hurt, creating fear and panic.
What I say, we are quite before say we free bed domi, we free domi quite. What time that me see from a boom? Na nitino a cock nitino a cock a frozen barrier. Na any war a boom, not train assassin a cheek at the acoca a typha. Young quantity more. Na nitino a call. Near your cheek, your court typha a dangerous.
My fruit train I have said yeah crap. If you say oh break, you know, I am one. What me maybe I mess no better concern sign a cheap as I have fire. Then you have one of the morning you say the quan my the kind of one of and your quan my may and yes, I am the way the
de biamu company breaking yet engine yet etasi de bia me need time back etasi ye face program power train pa la de so be bia ba sa o train ye be say change train mai ye change train o find new one e beto so anya say ye to aba this year we are not going to vote this year
be free ensam na eba na me free house so de kode bia train e die no kronya me anim kwan na nye say ofu train fi Nsawam na say we di bedru Accra ha onfu biem ba yende ya fo nti no yenim say de enti e wo so sa teze eye nwanwa last week ye du puku ase train ni tiniti free so ma ni tea free e pe popa mena e tea free mo ebinum hwihwi e ba ebinum paper e ebinum teze
ye ba train ni tineti mete enti no monya ya moa da no say tie now half ko Accra na half so ko Nsawam enti no train no kwa na say munsese ma yedra.
There are dangerous gaps between the coaches, and the links between the coaches are in poor conditions. There are indications of deterioration in and outside of the wheeled vehicles. That notwithstanding, as dangerous as it is, some people cling to the moving trains as they speed along the rails. The poor management of the country's rail system is negatively affecting road users. The congestion on the roads leaves commuters very frustrated and stranded, especially in the rush hours when they have to maneuver through the heavy vehicular traffic, spending several hours on the road in a bid to get to work or home. The focus of successive governments over the years have been primarily on building road networks, relegating the railway sector. Several roads and flyovers have been constructed by the various governments in a bid to deal with congestion on major roads, but the situation keeps worsening.
It's been difficult planning the route. You realize that we've not gotten into the rare Xmas period, but the traffic is heavy. Now it takes me close to about 1.5 hours to get to work.
You see, I have to set off from the house around 6:30, and it's past 8. I'm still at Kanishi, so you can wonder when I'll get to the office and when I can even start working.
Honestly, I'm supposed to be at work by maximum 7:30, but then I've been in the traffic, and because of that, so many appointments that I have booked this morning, I have to reschedule them. So it's very obvious. You can see that we've been in traffic and productivity is being affected.
All over the world, countries that have developed to the envy of third world countries have built strong transportation systems to ensure the smooth running of their economies. The National Road Safety Commission attributes a third of deaths in the country to road accidents. These deaths and injuries could be avoided if government invests in a railway transport system which is much safer compared to all the other means. The erstwhile Kufuor government brought in the new train that now runs from Tema to Accra. It has better conditions compared to the old ones, but even the new train derailed in the course of one of its journeys as a result of the terrible state of the rails. This happened in early February this year. So what is the way forward? Looking at a transport means that will ease the burden of cost, aid in reducing congestion on the roads, keep passengers safe and comfortable, and aid in the development of the country in terms of export commodities. Rail transport is the best solution. Plans to develop the railway system were stated in previous party manifestos, and with just a few days to the December polls, the two major political parties in the country again have highlighted their plans to develop the railway sector in their manifestos. Will they just be promises that will remain unfulfilled, or this time round, Ghana will experience some massive change in its railway sector? Well, time will tell. Wanda Hagan, Joy News, Accra.
Well, a new report by the Global Panel on Agriculture and Food Systems for Nutrition has revealed that Ghana and many other African countries are gradually slipping into nutritional crisis. The panel, chaired by former President John Agyekum Kufuor, say that while many families are getting out of the poverty bracket and being able to afford more food, the quality is on a decline. They say this is accounting for the rising number of obesity cases around the country and in other parts of the world. A member of the panel, Professor Sandy Thomas, launched a report in Accra today.
Most of the questions you might have about why nutrition is so important right now and why Africa, along with many other parts of the world, is entering a real nutritional crisis. And what the Foresight report from the Global Panel, of which the co-chair is former President His Excellency John Kufuor, what we have done in this report is to take a global look ahead at where diets are going. So clearly, we get nutrition through having high diet quality, good food, and we have major problems affecting many parts of the world in terms of not having enough food. Undernutrition is still declining too slowly, and we see even in Africa, in fact in every country of the world, we see that overweight and obesity is rising. And this is because when people enjoy higher incomes, whether they're in middle-income countries or low-income countries, high-income countries, they are able to enjoy less food scarcity, because they are able to afford better foods, but the price of many nutritious foods still remains high. And the key point is that they are then able to buy food that is ultra-processed. And as you'll be hearing from some of our experts here, that these ultra-processed foods are the cause, in part at least, of much of the overweight and obesity that we're seeing. But it's also modern lifestyles. So what this report has tried to do is to set out the challenges. The challenges are set out for all countries, but what we have done today as well is we're publishing the Africa Foresight paper, which I think you all have a copy of in your packs, and that is really the material from the report that focuses in particular on Africa. So that helps you to cite some of that information. And there's also a paper released today on nutrition in Ghana, which summarizes much of the data that colleagues here and elsewhere have pulled together. Now, there is much to be proud of, I think, in Africa in terms of the progress that's been made in tackling nutrition. And my colleagues here will, I'm sure, share some of that with you, and you heard about it downstairs. And of course, it's in the report. But there are many other reports, like the Costs of Hunger report, which set out how much is lost each year through poor nutrition.
Well, the former Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Bedu Akosa, said practices must end if we have to effectively deal with the situation.
A typical Ghanaian whose parents have transited from malnutrition, they can roast yam and give a child roasted yam for lunch. That is not nutritious. That roasted yam will fill the child's tummy. But what nutritional gain does that child have? So that, for me, is a clear difference. A lot of us, when we're growing up, you have, unripe plantain, boiled, all right? And at the end of it, they just take a little bit of contumely sauce, and the child is holding it, and that is the child's snack or lunch. Understand? That is what we're talking about. We've got to a stage where we're not talking just about food, but we're talking about nutritious food. Okay? So that is the baseline. This is the decade of UN decade for nutrition. And we're talking of nutritious diets for the people of this country.
Now, 1 out of every 5 girls in Ghana are now married before the legal age of 18. The situation is worse off in some regions like the Upper East, where 1 out of every 4 now is married before that age of 18. Well, joining us, Justice Bedu has been following the stories of girls who are now falling out of school into marriage in a new documentary titled Marrying Too Young. Before we bring in the excerpts, let me get some more details from him now. Justice, good afternoon to you. It's been a while since I saw you. Hope you're good. I know you've been busy with this particular work, but when we mentioned the statistics, yes, it looks like numbers, quite staggering. Yeah. But what's the reality on the ground? What are some of the very personal stories that speak to this very horrifying statistic?
So these are alarming figures, obviously, that every day we gloss over every day and think that these are figures. Every time we say 25% of young Kenyan women are now married off before 18, but it goes deeper than that. It has issues to do with young girls not having to get an education because they are going to have to be married, because now we have a situation where in many parts of this country, young children and girls are now breadwinners for their families because the families cannot take them through school, and the result is that they have to be given out, which is an easier way, because then you have a man who would be able to support them and then support the family in some instances. And so over the past few months, I've been following the stories of some of these girls in the Upper East region, where actually it is worse, where we have as much as 1 out of every 4 girls now, according to figures by the gender ministry, getting married before.
Why? You see, when these things come up, I get pretty emotional, but I keep asking, what is making this practice prevalent? What is making it happen almost all the time? What's the underlying current here?
I think the underlying factor is poverty, and then also something that has always been entrenched mainly in the culture of our people. So one of the things I've learned over the last couple of months is, for example, how people feel that there's no point struggling in life when you can get married and get someone to take care of you.
I see.
And actually, one of the very, very interesting things that I've also found, which is what this documentary focuses on, is how our educational system in itself is pushing young girls to fall into marriage.
Well,
and you'd ask why?
Yeah, why?
So, are you aware that out of nearly half of all the people who write this West African Secondary School Certificate exams, the mouthful, are unable to make it in the core subjects which is needed to move on.
Yeah.
So basically, a lot of young people are now finishing school and they cannot move on to the tertiary level and they cannot get jobs. So we have a lot of young people who are stuck in this, between the rock and a hard place, basically, because they can't go forward and they can't come back. And in the Upper East region, for example, many girls who are in this situation, who have failed to get the grace to move on and are not having jobs and are home, are now being told to get married. Because then your parents have been able to take care of you. Now you've gone through school and you are still a burden on them.
Payback time.
Exactly.
Easy option to go for. To survive.
And so it's a really desperate situation, and it sort of speaks to the attention that we pay to youth development, girl-child education, young people, and all of that. So it's basically all of these issues that the documentary speaks to, and it's focused. It's premised in an institution in the Upper East Regional Capital, which is trying to get all of these young girls back into a training system where they are then able to learn and then rewrite their exam and hopefully get back to school and then get their lives back on track. So that's what this documentary is about.
So Married Too Young airs when? When does it air?
So we've already aired it on TV this week. It's playing all through the week, and obviously it's going to go on over the weekend as well. We have played it also on radio, but then over this weekend we would repeat it on Sunday. On Sunday edition as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Justice, for the details. And for many of you who may not have watched this documentary, spend some time watching this channel, because there's every chance you may get to see it. Even this evening, maybe, just maybe, you may be lucky in seeing this documentary aired again here on this channel. But let's now move on to some other issues. Now, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association say that they will embark on a nationwide industrial action if government fails to address concerns of nurses and midwives across the country. The group is calling for the payment of outstanding allowances due nurses, as well as the restoration of trainee allowances by the end of October.
Having trained large numbers of nurses and midwives, and additionally bonding them, makes it very difficult for them to be absorbed within the private sector. Many government-trained nurses and midwives are still sitting at home with their nursing and midwifery skills wasting away. Government must train the numbers that the health system requires at any point in time to ensure an effective system absorbing those who qualify from the government institutions and even those from the private institutions. You do not need to be informed, ladies and gentlemen, about the deplorable conditions at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital and the challenges the psychiatric nurse is going through to ensure that reasonable care and assurance is given to the unfortunate psychiatric patients and their relatives. And this trend cuts across all the psychiatric hospitals in the country. Nursing and midwifery practice requires essential logistics to ensure patients' care and safety, as well as safety of the professional. These logistics include medications, thermometers, blood pressure apparatus, disinfectant.
Well, Pastor, now I'll come back and bring you sports here on The Pulse. Stay with us.